There's a ton of talk today about firing your hips to hit the golf ball and just using your hips. Leave the arms alone, don't do anything with the shoulders, just use your hips and you'll hit the ball and everything will be great. And this is one of the biggest problems I see in golf swings, is that this idea of firing your hips is leading to inconsistent contact and power loss, two things you'd never think would happen. So we're going to look at the problem of just firing your hips, and we're going to talk about an easier way to make your downswing even more powerful and use those hips for tremendous speed. Let's just look at the idea of firing your hips and doing nothing with the shoulders. So I'll often see in the comments section, some people will say, hey, you can't use your shoulders to start the downswing. That's going to always make you come over the top. You just fire your hips, leave the arms alone, let the club just drop magically. This is one really risky proposition, because if I go to the top and I just fire my hips, look at this. The club doesn't move, for one. If I just left my arms alone, left the shoulders alone, nothing's happening. All I'm doing is turning my hips. So you literally can't just turn your hips. The club's not going to move towards the ball. What moves the club? Hands, arms, shoulders. Your torso up here is moving the club. The hips are merely a tool to give you more power to hit that ball. And so to just start down with the hips, well, something's got to move these shoulders and arms and hands. So I have to move it with the shoulders. I have to do this. All of a sudden I'm introducing the torso. I can't just leave those hips and shoulders separate from each other. I don't need to create this massive separation either. Another problem with just firing your hips is it puts your club in a strange spot to approach the ball from. So as I fire my hips, the arms get even more connected to the body, the hands stay back here, now the club is more behind me, and so the club starts to drop behind the ball, gets lower to the ground like this. And then that leaves me flipping through impact and pulling my arms apart. So I'm losing speed, and this club is going to either hit off the toe, heel, we're not sure where. It's also going to cause a lot of fat shots and thin shots. The club's just moving more steep into the ground. A few other problems with just firing the hips. Well, some golfers will do this. You focus on firing your hips and the club gets over the top and then moves across the ball. It's a very weak slice. The ball goes in the water, you chuck your clubs into the lake. And that's just me thinking hips, just thinking hips alone. But you want to use your hips. Your hips are an awesome power source. Here's me using my hips in the golf swing as a power source. Look at my hips just swivel through the ball. Tons of speed, the club whips through impact. But one thing I didn't do there was focus on firing my hips. I want you to think about your hips as not the primary mover, but more of the accessory. So your hips are going to be the accessory to murdering the golf ball. And the difference is a lot more speed. Because if you don't use your hips at the right time, you're going to lose that speed. If I start my downswing, fire all that power, it's already gone. But if I instead wait, I let the shoulders accelerate, the hips will then fire later. And this creates that whip-like effect, that swivel through the ball. It's like an effortless power move. And so don't think about firing first and getting your arms behind you. Think about accelerating the shoulders first and letting the hips explode later. Check this out. So if I go to the top and I tell my hips to wait, bring the shoulders down, boom, I've already got on my leg, as opposed to if I fire my hips first, I'm starting to lose that angle. And then the club's in a position where I have to flip because the club's only going down from here. And even if I try to hit the ball with just my hips and I use my torso, the club still moves down and it puts me in a position where I'm stuck here. I can't really accelerate the club at all. My shoulders at every point are lagging. So I want my shoulders to accelerate because I know if I do that, the hips are going to work. Shoulders, shoulders. Look at this, hips. They're moving. I'm just moving the top half. I'm not forcing it. And the hips move. Do that with a club in my hands, you'll see the hips working even better. Shoulders only. So they're following the shoulders. The hips are following the shoulders, exploding through the ball, instead of me forcing the hips to turn. So that brings in the other area we're going to talk about after I mash this ball. It's going to feel great. I just need to mash it. Look at those hips. They just seem to explode through the ball at the last second, don't they? There it is again. The hips just move. They fire. The club doesn't drop low to the ground. I'm actually getting maximum extension of my arms through impact, which is a power source. Helps you with good contact. There it is again. Belt buckle's pointing at the target. My hips are firing, but later. So this comes into the part of the downswing. The big misconception, the big myth is that your shoulders are always bad, your arms are always bad. If you start your downswing with your arms or your shoulders, it's always over the top. And I could see why golfers think that, because it's something you hear in a ton of instruction books. Oh, if you start down with your arms or hands, it's always going this way. But my arms and hands and shoulders can also do this. Well, that's not over the top. That's correct. In fact, if I do hips, I got a greater risk of doing this anyway. If I fire my hips and let the arms alone, I still have to pull the club over. So, what's really going on here? Something's not right. If I get my shoulders to move the correct way, I will never swing over the top. Get that etched in your brain right now. You can control the path of the club with the shoulders and arms. And then that gives your hips an opportunity to be used at the right time. So let's take a look at this. Look at that. That's the correct path of the ball. It's nice and shallow. It's not going over and down. So what I think about is as if there's a wall here and it's on this angle. And the club has to stay underneath that wall. And if I do that, my shoulders and arms are going to keep the club on the proper path. It will happen. I'm just going to take my hips out of play here for a second and just control the path of the club with my shoulders, hands, and arms. So what I did right there is I shallowed the club. I didn't do anything with the hips. And the club went down on the proper path. This is the eye opener. I just took the hips out of play. Yeah, I could go this way, but that's no way to hit a golf ball. I won't be able to do anything. I have to go on this path into the ball. And it's a little baby draw. And I actually feel the club staying shallow into impact, controlling the path with the arms and the shoulders. It's so counter to what you hear in instruction today and what you may have read in books over the past 50 years perhaps. Just remember, you don't need it. And if you watch pros, you're going to see they all get the club on this path. They don't all just fire their hips. The hips are moving, but they move at the right time. So now I'm able to control the angle of the club shaft with my arms, hands, and shoulders. What do you think about that? That's a little different, isn't it? It's very powerful. I've got plenty of speed. I haven't even been swinging that hard. Let's try and rattle one here without using the hips. Let's shake it up. If I keep the shoulders moving, I will swing really fast and I will keep the club shallow. High, far, straight. And if you saw my last episode, I told you how I was taking about a long time off, about 3 weeks off from hitting a ball. Just weather wasn't right, Christmas was going on, family stuff, so you can tell it's really consistent without having a whole lot of practice. Okay, let's just do a little visual though of if I just turn my hips. I'm going to leave my arms alone and turn. Disclaimer, I do not accept responsibility for any mishits. Don't do anything, hit the ball with the hips. This already feels so wrong. I mean, what are you gonna do? Like do this? Because I don't have control over where the path's gonna be. I could go anywhere. All right, let's just do one slow motion. I mean, I can't do it. All I do is I feel the club dropping down to the ground. It feels weak. Try it again. The club's feeling a lot lower to the ground. So I've been able to strike those a little thin. I feel through impact a slight flip. Let's see some from the front view. I don't feel the shoulders moving at all. I feel them staying back, so I'm not able to accelerate the club enough. All right, so firing the hips, doing nothing with the arms. I'm still using my shoulders here a little bit because I have to. I can't hit the ball if I just turn my hips. I just feel the club drooping around. This requires some psycho coordination to hit it well. That one was good. But even on that one, I still have to accelerate the shoulders. If I leave the shoulders behind, I won't hit this ball. Because if you literally just fired the hip, like when does the club hit the ball? I have to move the shoulders. I have to use the shoulders with the hips. You don't have to worry about this whole separation thing. That was good. That was me doing it with shoulders first, hips later. Way more powerful. So, what do you think about that? A little different today. Talking about one of those time-tested things that's been beat into golfers for years. Hey, don't use your arms or shoulders in the downswing. You'll come over the top. You'll play terrible golf. It's not true. Because I can totally control the path of the club with my shoulders and my arms. And I can learn how to do that repeatedly too. So, some food for thought for you on this lovely day. And I'll be looking forward to seeing you in a future episode. If you're looking to strike the ball really well, play the best golf of your life, check out my online golf school, SagutoGolf. It's a complete golf swing training program designed to just build your swing up so you can have a consistent, powerful, repeatable motion that works day in and day out. Use those hips the right way. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in a future episode.